Wednesday. It is Chris and Matt back here with our weekly, or at least what we're trying to do weekly, session on talking about building your life insurance career, I guess is what we're doing. Is that, I don't even think we should name this series is really what we should do. And like it become its like own podcast on how to build your life insurance business. And
for sure,
actually that's an idea that we just came up with that. We're going to do that.
That's a great idea.
We're going to turn this. We're going to turn this into a podcast. We got to come up with a name and do all that stuff. And anybody in the comments, if you have any ideas on good names that you think Matt and I should create for a podcast, let us know in the comment section what names for the podcast you think we should use, and we will go from there. But so Matt and I were talking about everything that we deal with on a daily basis when it comes to conversations with agents and people that are looking for help, and just kind of, I don't know, anybody that's just kind of like new here, or maybe hasn't seen the content that we talk about with training agents, is I've been doing this channel for a long time, since 2016. I created all the content for a long time, and we didn't have an IMO, we didn't have an agency, we didn't have any way to really help agents except for kind of me just paying it forward and getting on the phone with people and helping them and giving them some advice and guidance and whatever. And finally, kind of enough was enough, and enough people reached out and asked for help. And I heard the same story long enough, and I thought to myself, man, if I were knowing what I know now, what would I really want in an agency? Because I kept hearing all these horror stories from people that were joining World Financial Group and PHP and PFA and all these other IMOs that that we'll get into, like all the things that they're doing that are the problem. And I know the problems, and I saw the problems, and so we're like, what can we do to create a response or a solution to the problem, right? Because that's what entrepreneurs do. We solve problems. And so we saw that problem, and we said, hey, let's figure out a solution to that problem. Therefore we launched the Life 180 IMO. Matt found us. Matt has been really successful for a decade in this space in his own right, building teams and helping mentor people. And so we just like really hit it off. And Matt is now the director of agent development for Life 180. And we are doing a lot of different things. And so these videos that we're doing weekly are really talking about helping agents be successful in their career. And Matt and I were talking over the past couple of days and talking about all the different companies that are out there. And we were just like, man, we kind of got to talk about this. And I know it's going to get a lot of pushback, Matt. I know we're going to get a lot of hate from this, but as I do, and as you love to do, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I'm not going to hold punches. I'm going to speak truth. We both do this for the same reason. We want to help people. I believe in what we do. I believe in the importance of the role of a life insurance agent in people's lives, if you do it the right way. But I also believe if you don't do it the right way, you have the potential to really harm people in their personal finances. And so, so let's talk about this. What do you see as the biggest challenge? Because if we look at the numbers, 93% of agents fail in their first 3 years in the business, right? Yep. And the typical methodology for these IMOs is to go out and kind of recruit anybody, and obviously the training and the support is lacking. We can get into that on what that means on a deeper level. But people are failing, why do you think people are failing so much? Where do you think the biggest problems are when you start your career, right? Like when you first get licensed, or get through that process and start to reach out to people and try to build your business and make sales and connect with people. Like, what's the biggest problem? Where's the biggest breakdown?
That's a loaded question. I think, in this industry, like, first of all, if you're not in this industry, you are missing out. I think if you look across the country, a lot of people more than ever are in a position where they're looking for extra income. And if we look at the studies, more people have side hustles now than any other time in history. And that's because, let's face it, jobs are not paying with with pace with inflation and cost of living and stuff like that. So people are looking for ways to make extra money. And I think it's interesting because I think in this space, the insurance industry is like the last place people look because they don't think it's sexy. I think they look at, Jake from State Farm are all saying that I don't want to do that. And I mean, I don't even call myself an insurance agent. I just happen to utilize insurance products to help people financially. But there are some people that want to, just be the insurance agent, and you could still make some great income. But before you join any company, because every company has their own challenges, and I think one of the big problems is most companies, if you see what their engine, what's driving their engine, it's sales. And the reason why sales is driving their engine is that's how everybody gets promoted. Why do everybody want to get promoted? Because they want to get a higher comp. So that's great. Okay, if sales culture, I have nothing problem with that. But if that is the sole focus of me, I need to get promoted. That's where lies the problem, where it depends on who your upline is, who your coach is, who your manager is, and their intention. And, that could result in lack of training, no training, help, no help. But before we even get into the different types of companies, and, just the different cultures and stuff like that, I think the main thing is the biggest problem that people will have going into this industry is having a mindset of being an employee to an entrepreneur working for themselves. So whereas an employee, you're used to, let's face it, you go to work every day, 9 to 5, you don't work every single hour. What you do is you work the least amount so you don't get fired, right? We're trained to do that. Get away with much as we can. Not everybody, but get away with as much as we can, not have to work, but still get paid every 2 weeks. And then I think the hardest part is making that transition to where now, if you eventually go full-time in the industry, is your bills are paid based on your activity and what you do. And for a lot of people, that freaks them out, that creates stress. That's one of the biggest reasons I see a lot of people quit this industry in their first year, is because they haven't been properly taught by a mentor, trained on how to make that transition. It is a transition. You have to understand the rules of the game. And I think a lot of people don't know the rules of the game. They're not told the rules of the game.
Sure.
But it's a blessing. And I tell you, man, they say there's no problems. They're just puzzles, right? And that's the way I look at life. There's no problems in your life. They're all puzzles. There's a solution for every puzzle, right? One of the things I always tell agents is no matter what, just don't quit. Even if you have to go back to work, or even if you have to keep your job, don't quit, because at the end of it, you will learn eventually. Now, some people, their pain threshold is a little higher than other people, so they're going to have to go through higher lessons and more lessons than others.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's all worth it at the end. I've gone through a lot, and I've realized success doesn't really care about your excuses and your complaints and what you have going on. You have to do what's required to be able to bring in the money and pay your bills. So before you even get to any company, I think that's the first thing you need to understand is, how do I make a transition from where I'm used to getting paid every 2 weeks to now I'm only getting paid when I work and get a result. It's not even work. It's just I have to get a result. And, I always tell people it's okay to have a job. And I actually recommend it. Have a job, have a source of income, unless you have a huge savings you can rely on, right? That way you're not stressed about money. That way you could take your time and learn the business, actually get good at it, develop the skill without any financial pressure of having to pay the bills next month. I think that's the best place to start. And then, take your time, set some goals, some milestones, get the skills down. And then at that point, you can create a plan of what the transition is going to look like, since now you know what to do, how to do it, had success, you made some money. And now it's just creating a plan based on what your bills are. Because I have some agents, they need, $15,000 a month to cover all their bills, where I got some agents, they only need $3,000. Well, those two plans are going to be completely different, right? And
for sure.
And I think that's just important, having that plan in place. And I see a lot of companies, they just don't even do that. they just want you to make sales hit numbers on the board so they can get a higher comp and everybody can get promoted, and they kind of leave you behind. So, but I would say that's the general thing, is the transition from employee to entrepreneur. And then after that, now it does come down to what company are you going to start with?
All right. So you just said something. I want to go through this, because you just said something that just kind of inspired me. Have you ever read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek?
Yeah.
So Simon Sinek, and anybody who hasn't watched the book, I would say there's a TED Talk on it. He's got all sorts of content. Simon Sinek is amazing, right? And understanding it. And I think it comes down to really wanting to make sure, and I'm gonna go over to my board here. He does this, and I'll do a really kind of half-baked version of what Simon Sinek does, right? Because I'm not Simon Sinek, but I'll do my best for you guys here. So the challenge is we got the what, the how, and the why. Now, most people, what they do when they get into the life insurance industry, and I've been thinking about this a lot because of, as people get into the life insurance industry, they're not thinking about why am I getting into this business? They're thinking about like, what am I doing? How can I, what am I selling? Am I selling, simplified issue, final expense kind of stuff? Am I selling IUL? Am I selling whole life? It's like, they're not even thinking about why they're trying to sell simplified issue, how they want to make the impact, and like why that impact is important to them, and like why emotionally they're connected with selling simplified issue or IUL or whole life or term. I don't know how you could emotionally really connect with simplified issue personally, but like, just hypothetically speaking, we're going there, right? Like, so like this is the idea, but like, it's really challenging because most, and if you think about it from any good company perspective, and like I said, watch Simon's talk, because he uses Apple as an example as somebody who really, really kicks butt at this, because if you were to look at Apple computers are actually inferior quality. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for making that statement, but like Apple computers, their software, most of the things in them, aside from like the virus protection maybe they have, they're less capable computers to most other Windows-based computers from a technology perspective. Now, what did they do? They simplified them and they made them easy to use. But really what started with Apple is they really got behind in Steve Jobs. And this is the reason Apple sucks ever since Steve Jobs died, because there's no innovation. They're resting on and then been living off of the innovation that Steve Jobs created, before he died. And while he was building the vision, Steve Jobs got in there and he's like, we are going to make a difference. We innovate. We are people that don't settle for the status quo. And like, he built this whole culture around it. People buy Apple computers because of this, and they're still buying them a decade after he's dead, because of the fact that he built a culture of why Apple even exists in the first place. That people don't buy them because an iPhone, because of everything it does at this point in time. Like, iPhone is still the number one selling phone in the world, not because it's the best phone in the world. I switched from Apple to the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra because of the fact that, like, hey, it's a better phone overall. It's got better camera, it's got better storage, it's more open source. I could do a lot more things with it. Now, a lot of people just like the convenience and the culture of having the Apple, and I get that. I'm not going to argue that, but he starts and he's like, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to make an impact in the world. We're going to make a dent in the universe. We're going to do all these things, and that's why we're doing it. How are we going to do it? We're going to build computers that connect everybody, that solve all these different problems, right? And we're going to help connect people, and we're going to do all these things that computers and technology and iPhones and all that stuff do. And that is ultimately the what, right? Like, so great thing. But when people get in the life insurance space, they're not thinking about it like this. They're going, oh, what do I have to do? I need a job. I'm going to go sell life insurance. What am I going to do? I'm going to sell simplified issue. How am I going to do it? I'm going to go buy leads, man. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy leads, and I'm going to figure out exactly what I need to do. And I'm trying not to crap on people with this, but like, this is just the way it goes. And then they're like, literally, then they try to convince you why it's important. Like, and you got to come up with some BS statement about like your connection. You're laughing at me. Am I wrong? I know I'm being pretty bold with how I'm coming at this, but like, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, that's right.
So like, they do this versus, like, I think one of the reasons people really connect to the content that I make is because people really truly know and believe that I lead with my why. I am really, really clear, like, why I'm in this business. Sure. I'm in this business to help people reach financial freedom. Mm-hmm. I'm in this business because I truly believe we have the ability to make an impact in people's lives and to change the direction of people's lives. I believe that, if we utilize these products in the right way, we can truly change the impact or change the direction that everybody has in their financial world, right? Like, I look at it, the reason I got into this space, just to kind of share my story a little bit, is like, I got into this originally because I was going to go get a job with my father-in-law taking over his brokerage business with Wells Fargo. I went into the office. The manager said, Chris, you're high. Like, you've been a professional poker player. You haven't had a job in 7 years. Like, we're coming out of a recession. This is a great recession in 2009. Like, I like, if I hire you, they're going to fire me. Like, and I'm like, what do you do? What do I do? Like, so I originally wanted to go do that, and I didn't know. I just knew what I wanted to do at that point in time. And thank God, because I was so into the economy and so into economics and politics and looking at like the general, the general overview of things, I had a real passion for this. And when I got into the life insurance business, and I got into it with the mindset of thinking I was going to take over this brokerage business, right? This investment business, fee-based planning business, ultimately, then I went into my first iteration of the insurance space, not even giving a crap about insurance, honestly. Like, it was a means to an end. I needed to do it for a year to get to this place so I could be like, to take over and be a succession plan. And it was because of that I went in really trying to almost discredit the insurance space, and just kind of like, I was like trying to come at it from like, I'm better than this and I don't need this, and I'm only here like to prove a point kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I went through that. And in that process of trying to disprove insurance and prove what I was working towards, about 6 months in, I was like, oh crap. Like, it was one of those things where I was just like, I have a challenge, moral dilemma now, because now I'm learning all this stuff. I don't even believe, hey, Corey, what's happening, man? I don't even believe in what I'm like working towards now. So I had to, I started realizing that my why is I believe the financial system is broken. Like, that was my why. I believe in that. And I wanted to show people a path to discover what I discovered, and to show them what they can do to work around the system, because the system is not set up for you to succeed. And so everything we do is with the alternatives. And that's why my why with the IUL and all the stuff that I talk about is to try to educate agents, because I was hardcore into the IUL space. And ironically, the thing that convinced me out of not going the wirehouse route and the fee-based planning route was because I bought into IUL so hardcore. And then about 4 years later, I had to have a wake-up call for that. And that was another hardcore thing, but like, I think it's so important. I use this phrase a lot. We got to be willing to go slow to go fast, right? Like, the biggest problem when we talk about all these companies, and we talk about different comp plans and different philosophies and different tools and products and whatever, I think one of the important things is that if the comp plan, and I'll turn it back over to you in a sec, but like, if the comp plan has something in it that forces you to recruit people before you can get a raise, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I would call a moral hazard, right? Because it's saying, hey, listen, Matt, if I'm recruiting you into this business that forces you to recruit before you can get a raise, it's me bringing you in saying like, hey, listen, I don't really care about your competency.
Yeah.
I don't really care about your ability to serve people at a high level. All I care about is you just sales and numbers and recruiting and building the team, and get me your leads and get me their leads and create this kind of internal consumption model. Like, and that is absolutely the antithesis of everything we saw. So when I created Life 180, when we created the comp plan here for new agents, and be able to like kind of have a place for people that were in those places, like PHPs and WFGs, to have a place to land and be rescued from. Thanks, FCAT, man. Appreciate it. If you need a place like that to be rescued from, that's why I created this comp plan, to save you from having to sell IULs that you don't understand, to get you to a place where, listen, and Matt will tell you guys, and Matt's way better at getting people faster traction than I am. It's like a big weakness of mine, because my mindset is, I'd rather you join us and not write business for 6 months, like, and just sit there. Like, that's my, like, but I realize not everybody can afford to do that, right? Like, just because I could sit there and like learn about something, and I've done this, by the way, I've taken 6 months and been like, I don't really care about making any money for the next 6 months. I'm just going to go and learn and master something, and then I'm going to make up for the next 6 months, and I'm going to crush it. Not everybody has the ability. Very few people, in fact, have the ability to do that, and I acknowledge that. But I would rather people come in and move slow, because I know when you go slow and you do the education, you go through the process, that you can move completely fast. Now, you, Matt, are way better at getting people to move fast and to support them. That's why I brought you on, and that's why we partnered, and that's why this partnership is amazing. But talk about all that a little bit, because it's like kind of keep going and add on to my thoughts on that.
Couple of things. I want to go back to the why, because I think that's so important. And like, when you get in the industry, it's okay if you got into the industry just to make money, or you don't know what your why is. Because I got in because I just needed to make extra money. I didn't know how bitchin' this industry was, to be honest. I got in the industry like, okay, sounds good. Okay, make extra few thousand.
I don't know
Okay.
I've ever heard the life insurance described as a bitch in industry.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But as I started learning, it's so crazy. And this is one of the things I tell people: if you started with a company, you don't like it, don't blame the industry. It might be the company. So, for example,
for sure.
I went into like a WFG model where it aligned with my passion to help people financially. I just was incompetent. I didn't know any better that the IUL wasn't the vehicle. Now, had I started in the simplified issue model, I would have quit it. I would have quit this industry. I never would have came back because that's more like grinding. You're basically like an employee, buy leads, make calls, and you're just nothing different than you sitting in a cubicle, right? Same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad I got to that. How I got into the industry was that model first, because I learned a lot, and it kind of aligned more of my passion. Then I discovered my why after a certain amount of time. So some of you guys, if you get into the industry, I promise you, there is something in the industry you can do that will be fulfilling, that you'll be passionate about, that you'll be willing to put in the work and pay the price to do it. It just might not be with that company that you're with, maybe that team, maybe that culture, maybe whatever you're selling. So if you're in the industry right now and you feel that I just don't like this industry, it's probably your company. I would explore other opportunities. Give us a shout. Call us and we'll talk to you and we'll explain what we do and how we're different. I think you should at least do that, because I do feel there is a place for everybody in this industry. And let's face it, there are people that don't even want to get into the financial guiding and stuff like that. Maybe they just want to do simplified issue. That's fine. There are some personalities, that's all they want to do. They just want to clock in and clock out, make calls, make money, and live their life. And that's fine. There's a space for you there. But what I'm saying is, if you're not happy with the company that you're with, I would challenge you to explore a little bit more different companies. What are they selling? What are their culture like? And from there, make a decision. But I definitely wouldn't quit, because I know ultimately you'll find a home. So with the why, if you don't have a why right now, don't worry. But I would look for the why. Like, why should you stay in? What's going to keep you going? What is it like you're looking for? I think most people, we like the idea of helping people and making a difference. If that's not you and you're just want to do commission, go to simplified issue.
For sure.
That's totally your style. But if you want to make a difference and help others, and I think for me, the big thing is, like, this industry has taught me leadership. And my definition of leader, being a leader or being a great leader, is someone who can help others to do things they otherwise wouldn't on their own. And to me, I think I see a lot of that in clients, helping them make the right financial decision, going in the right direction, as well as agents too. But this industry is amazing. If you're thinking about getting in this industry, we should talk. You should definitely get in the industry. Now it's just a matter of what company is going to fit what you're looking for.
One of the things, you hit the nail on the head. One of the things that I always say about money, and if you watch my videos, and I know y'all do, I'm huge on whatever you're doing with your money needs to align with your values and your beliefs, right? Like period. If your financial strategy and what you're doing with your money is not being used in a way that you could leverage that money and that asset to help you create the life that you want to live, like, there's a problem. Conversely, if you are living a career, or like, let's say you're working a career and this is a plan B until it can become your plan A, so to speak, right? Like, if you want to like go that path, right? Like, and you are doing this part-time, you better make sure that this is in alignment with your values and beliefs, right? Like that. And that, if you understand what that is, well, then you're going to be able to find your why a lot easier. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be really clear on what's important to you, and what values do you have? What beliefs do you have? And if you're clear about that, and this is something that you would do for yourself, I would argue that if you're going to do whole life insurance or this kind of planning in general, you got to be a product of the product. You got to be somebody who's going through it for yourself first, and align that strategy with your own values and your beliefs, because now you're going to be able to reach out to people and be like, it's not a sales thing. You lead from a place of passion. You lead from a place of like, hey, listen, I got nothing to sell. Like, let me talk to you about what I'm doing, what I found for myself, and I just want to share it with you. And like, to add on to that, Corey Reedy just made a comment. And he said, any thoughts on life insurance agents and the possibility of obtaining other licenses such as Series 6 or 7 and being able to provide more value for clients? What I can say to that, Corey, is I used to have them all. I used to have my 24, my 6, my 65, and like all, like all the licenses for supervisory and equities and all these different things. I gave them all up because they were not in alignment with my values and my beliefs. There are some people that I really like, some people I have a lot of respect for, that would disagree with me, that would say, Chris, listen, I want to have my Series 6, my 7, my whatever, because, if I'm working with Matt and Matt's my client, and I'm helping Matt with his insurance, well, what if he's got a 401k that he wants to roll over? And if I don't have control of that money as his agent and advisor, he's going to go to somebody else. And now I'm going to be in a fight basically with this other advisor that's going to tell him what to do with his money. And Matt's going to get confused and, things are going to get complicated. And I'm like, listen, okay, I get that. That is a downside to not having your license. But to me, there's the downside of having your license is, for instance, everybody, I don't know, I assume you like this channel because you're here, you're watching, or maybe this is your first time here and you're about to click off because you can't stand me. But like at the end of the day, like I would not be able to run this channel if I had my equities licenses, right? Like the compliance and the restrictions are so insane. My ability to add value to the world would be squashed, right? Because I truly believe my focus is to add value to the world with this channel, whether you work with us or not. Hopefully you can come on and watch videos and learn how to do stuff in your own practice or implement in your own life. And that, to me, that's a value creation. So we need to be thinking about, anytime we're in this business, one of my big whys is I want to create more value for the people in my life. I want to be able to be that value creation mindset, and not having my license is a big part of my belief and value set on what I'm trying to accomplish in this business that would be squashed had I had it. So I had to give it up, and I had to walk away from that money, and be willing to do that because I could make that money and be living in, out of correlation with my values and my beliefs, which would create other ripple effect problems that, we don't maybe think about or don't even know what those would be, the unintended consequences, right? Like of everything that comes for it. But I would say, there's that. Now, when you were talking, so I think I answered that, but now I want to ask you this, because this is something you and I have talked about pretty extensively. And that is the problem. Like one of the things that happens when we came into this business, or I came into the business, and I don't know what it was for you, but I'll have you share your kind of version of it before you kind of give your take on it. I got into the business. I had a manager. His name was Bill Allen. Bill Allen was a good dude. And I learned a lot from him. And when I got into this business, I had to write what's called the Project 100, right? And so the Project 100 was like a list of 100 people, that family, friends, acquaintances, people that I thought I could reach out to get Bill in front of with me to help me close some business and to help me learn. And it wasn't even to close business. It was to help me. I mean, ultimately, obviously the goal is to close. But it was really for me to learn and go out and ask questions and be in front of people and hear Bill talk and like go through the whole sales process and like literally learn the ropes. Right. It was really beneficial for me because I learned a ton. Bill had been doing this for 20 something years, like had a lot of success, and our values were in alignment. I believe, it was a great mentor-mentee relationship. I remember driving all over Vermont with him. I think we put like 30,000 miles on one year, just driving in the car with each other, and it was what it was. That said, one of the challenges is with like, I guess I'll say it this way. I have no problem building a list and having a mentor and having a manager helping you do it and splitting cases and doing joint work and all that stuff. I think that's a necessary part of the business, and education is not free, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people try to shy away from wanting to split cases with people that they're getting mentored by. But there's a cost, there's an opportunity cost to not splitting cases, right? For sure. But talk to me about the problem, and I'll just kind of call out the problem and I'll let you respond to it. The problem that I see in the WFG, PHP, PFA, like all that big IMO selling IUL space is that they say, hey, Matt, get in this business, join us, before you even know anything, go out and recruit your friends and family and get us a list of people and get us and basically give me control of your list. And I will reach out to them. I'll do the work. I'll get them on calls. They've now become my prospect. You lose control of the relationship. And ultimately, whether you succeed or fail, Matt, I'm taking that business.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Oh no, that's exactly how it works.
So call that. Do me a favor. Do me a favor then. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited. Do me a favor and call that out and talk about that, because you've had a lot more experience like living that space and like really feeling it and seeing it much more close. I know it's happening because I hear about it every day. You know, from people that are calling up and telling me about it, and I'm hearing horror stories. I do that, but then talk about what we're doing that's different.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, if with any business, even if you're going to open up a restaurant, whatever, you should create a list of people that you know, resources. That way you can actually strategize and plan. Because if you're going to start a business, it would just make sense to get the word out. And it's not necessarily that the people that you're going to talk to, like they're going to do any business with you, but it's about not necessarily who you know, but it's who they know, right? So it makes sense. You should create a list. Now, if you're creating a list, if you're with a mentor and you're with another company and they're asking you to create a list, really what it comes down to, what is the intention behind it? Now, you kind of almost have to read between the lines and see the action versus what they say, because they're going to sell you. Like in WFG, look, if you look at WFG, PHP, PFA, what I'm about to tell you is some secret sauce. So if you're an agent and what I just said is not how you run your team, it's because your upline doesn't really run the true system. Because in WFG, there's people that run the true system, and then there's teams that actually deviate from the true system because they're uncomfortable and they want to run it how they want to run it. So there's two camps there. Now, if you're really running the true system that, you know, Patrick Bet-David, that Ed Milet, all these guys, when they first started, the system that actually that they ran, it's what I'm about to tell you. And if you don't run how I'm about to explain the system, then you're running a deviated system, something that's completely foreign to them. So basically what they do is they create a list of all your friends and family. And with that list, your phone number, all that stuff. But that list, they're going to make a copy of it. So they're going to have that list. The reason why that's important is they already know this. There's a high probability you're going to quit in about a week or two. So they don't really care because they have all your friends and family. And so this is what they do. Is I even did it myself. I call that list after you quit and I say, hey, John, this is Matt. I don't know where you probably don't know me, but we have a friend in common, Jim. He said that you might be looking for something part-time or full-time. I just wanted to reach out to you. He said really good things about you. And I just want to talk. Are you currently looking for new opportunities? Oh, yeah. Oh, tell Jim thanks. And now I'm recruiting all your friends and family. So the intention behind the list is their lead, to increase their lead base, not to help you.
Yeah.
And that's really the big difference. And it's a huge difference. Now, when they create the list and you start going on appointments, and this is one of the things that I don't think a lot of agents know in WFG, when you go on appointments with your field trainer, your manager, and you're watching them how to sell and all that, the number one thing they would rather do is actually recruit, not make a sell. And if you have never heard that, that means your upline and whoever your base and everybody there, they don't know the true system, because the true system is recruit first, sell second. Because through a recruit, if I recruit that client, it's easier to sell them through internal consumption than it is to sell them as a stranger. So the mentality is, if I recruit them, then part of the system is you have to do your own plan. So I'm going to get a piece of business regardless. So that's why in a lot of appointments, if you're really with the system follower, they're going to spend more time in building the relationship and try to recruit the person and make the industry and what we do so attractive that they actually just want to join. Because at the end of the day, most families that you sit down with, they need extra income. They're not making enough money. They don't make enough to make the ends meet. So the idea is going on appointments is recruit first, and then I'll make the sell when they become an agent. Then if they don't want to be recruited, then they'll sell them on the back end. And most people don't even know that. There's people in WFG that don't even know that. And so when you're creating the list itself, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you in those types of environments where you got to pay to play, like if you had to pay a fee to join a company, first of all, that is a MLM, that it's completely different than just the industry. They're running their business on a different rules, right? Set of rules. But when you create a list, that's really, you just gave them their whole list. Like you gave them leads that they can call and quit. And that's really the big problem. Like you were saying earlier, a lot of these companies, you do have to recruit to get promoted. So they have things called like 3-3-30, like 3 sales, 3 recruits in 30 days. Well, why would I have to recruit to build a business? I thought we're helping people financially. What does recruiting have anything to do with it? And it goes back to what I was saying is these companies, it's recruiting and sales and growth first, not you developing first, not you getting skills first, not you getting better first. It's the company first, right? Because everybody's
let's talk about that, because that's a huge deal, right? Like I want to put this out there, and I want to make this clear because of you just came on pretty strong about how they are, and I mean factual. I don't want it to come off as like sounding like we have a problem with recruiting, right? I think recruiting is great. You want to build a team, you want to build your own organization and agency and downline and all that stuff. I mean, God bless you. I think the world needs more of people like that doing it the right way. The problem with it is when it becomes a requirement for you to get a raise, it injects what I would call a moral hazard into the problem. Because now if I'm new to the business and I'm trying to build, and I got this friend named Matt Seibert, and and now I reach out to Matt and I'm like, hey Matt, all this stuff, like, wouldn't you like to earn some side income and all this stuff? And like, in order for me to get a raise in my company, I don't need Matt to just buy a policy from me. I need to get him to get licensed and join my team and do all this stuff. And now I have to go out, and I don't even know what I'm doing yet, right? If I had to like go out and get Matt to join my team, and now I don't know about you guys, but like if I have anybody on my team, I just maybe I'm insane here, but I just feel like I have a certain responsibility to them, a certain responsibility to help make sure that I have the ability to lead them and to guide them and to mentor them and to like help them succeed. The problem is most people are coming in and they don't have the ability or the knowledge, the capacity, the ability to really mentor anybody, to help anybody succeed, yet they're out there recruiting people because it's a requirement. Now what happens is what I call the blind leading the blind. And I don't mean that from an insulting perspective, because I get people are probably coming in not knowing, that you don't know what you don't know, right? Like they're doing what they think is right. Their heart's in the right place. They're trying to do the right thing. But they don't know what they don't know, and they don't understand the other options. They don't understand the other business models. They don't understand how the industry actually works outside of this infrastructure they've been sold by WFG, PHP, all these PFA. I'm going to keep calling out the big three, and it is what it is. And so, I think the biggest thing is like, I have no problem with recruiting. I have no problem making lists. It all comes down to what you were talking about, which is what's the intention of the list. The intention is gotta be, and this is, guys, by the way, this is why I love this business, right? Like, it's not an easy business. It's not, right? Like, this is hard, no matter how you slice it. This is hard. If you're going to get into this thinking it's going to be easy, I'm going to tell you to quit right now. It's not for you. Period. You better have some grit, if you're going to get into this. And you better be dedicated to learn, right? But if you come in and you follow this and you're willing to understand your why and really connect with everything first, if you do that, my promise to you, well, I guess I'll say it this way. This is one of the things, and this hit hard with me a couple of years ago, where I was going through transitions, and I was already like way ahead of where I think most people would really want to be in life, whatever. But I just kind of looked at myself, and I was having a hard time hitting the next level, like breaking through, and I kind of felt stagnant. And if you're somebody who's really focused on personal growth and advancement in life and just like wanting to create more, and like I am, and I'm always like pushing, that stagnation was like suffocating to me, right? Freaking insane. It was like suffocation. And I remember hearing, and it was Tony Robbins, and I was listening. I was driving my kids to school, my oldest daughter to school, and we were listening to this podcast, and it was Tony talking, and he made this comment where he was interviewing somebody, he was like coaching them, and he was like, you are where you are in life right now because of who you are. Make no mistake about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's like, basically got rid of all the excuses. He's like, if you were more, because like I was feeling to myself, like, why am I stuck? Like, I feel like I'm up here, but I'm here, right? Like, why am I not? And this other person that he was coaching on the call was basically saying all the things that I was feeling. And so I was like, okay, I can't wait for this. Tony's going to give me the breakthrough. And it's basically was the opposite. He's like, you are where you are because you are who you are. Like, if you were that person that you think you are, you'd be there right now. Like, I got news for you. That's just the way it is. Like, and so I had to have a real hard internal conversation and be like, all right, what is holding me back? Because I have this self-perception that I should be here, but I'm not there. So why am I not? What am I doing? Where are the holes? Where are the gaps that I need to fill? Like, how do I get to that point? How do I become who I want to be, who I need to be to live the life that I want to live? Right? That's what it comes down. Everywhere you go, there you are, right? That's another phrase, right? Like, and it's like, for me, the thing I love about this business is that, and the thing I love about whole life insurance as a generality is that as a strategy, when you implement it and utilize it as part of an overall financial structure that we talk about, it forces you to become more, and it forces you to go down a path that is going to force you to grow into becoming who you want to be, who you need to be to create that life that you want to live, right? And that goes back to aligning your values with your money and your career and everything with your own values and beliefs. And it forces you to, to step into it and to become more. And to me, that's like the best part of the business. That's the best part of our financial strategy. That's the best part of the whole deal. That's the best part of, life insurance, whole life insurance as an asset. It's not the returns and the liquidity. It's the fact that when you commit to going down that path, I promise you 3 years from now, as you do this, as you commit to it, as you're intentional about all the value and the whole concept of human life value and how your financial strategy plays into that, you're going to be a completely different person, and the world's going to be a better place because of it.
For sure. And it reminds me of what my mentor said a long time ago. I think my journey, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I think I've had some scenarios where most people would probably throw up and think this is the end of the journey. But I persisted through, and I was resilient, and I had grit. And I just know some people wouldn't have stomached what I went through. And one of my mentors said something, and it's so true. And it's one of the reasons why it kept me going, because a lot of people, they ask, Matt, all that crap that happened to you, why didn't you just quit? Like, why do you keep coming back to something that is up and down, and you can lose everything, you could gain everything, and all that instability, da da da. And I was like, first, the up and down instability is you. And second, to actually be successful in this industry requires the best version of you. And that's what kept me in the game, because who the heck wouldn't want to try to achieve the best version of themselves, right? And I really feel like this industry is a great vehicle that allows you to really test your limits and dig deep where you never thought it existed, and bring out the best version of you that I completely believe that best version of you cannot be pulled out at any W-2 job, employee of the month position. It'll never happen. And I think in this life, it's short enough to why would you want to not at least try what that looks like to achieve the best version of yourself? And this industry is great. I mean, not only you become the better version of yourself, but the amount of people and the impact and how you can help people. And it goes back to what you said, recruiting is not bad. This is a crazy shift that happened to me. When I first got in the industry, my passion was helping people financially. It still is. I love helping clients. I love guiding people financially, but something actually shifted. It was about a few years back where my passion in this industry, it went from helping clients to helping agents. And here's why. I love helping clients. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It just gets me excited. But when I help a client, they probably won't benefit or understand the capacity of how I help them for years. And I may never be there in their life at that moment when I see how I actually help them. But agent, not only can I be an active part of it, but I can see it right there. And I could change that agent's life, not only financially, mindset, new beliefs. And if I help that agent succeed, the amount of
Yeah.
families that they can help is a lot more than I can help.
The
Right.
ripple effect is
And
huge.
so for me, when I recruit, that's the way I look at it, is I'm making my impact in the world through family indirectly through recruiting agents and helping them succeed. And this is a different way to look at it. But this industry is great. If you're not in it, you are missing out for sure.
And that's great for you. That's great for me. That's great for anybody that is at the place where you're competent enough to recruit and support and actually make an impact in the agent's life that you did recruit. Like I can say, and the reason I brought you on board and you know, we're doing this is because I had so many people coming and asking me for help, and I'm like, listen, that's just not my skill set. You know, like you know, I'm not great with new people. I'm going to be really honest. Like you know, but Matt's amazing with new people, right? Once you hit a certain level of success and understanding, I'm really amazing at taking good to great, but I'm not good at taking new to good, you know, like, and, you know, so that's, I think, what makes us a really amazing team. But, you know, I think that you just hit the nail on the head, is like the ripple effect from a guy like Matt Seibert to be able to go through and recruit people and make an impact in their lives. And rather than Matt spending his time this year trying to impact 300 families, go impact 300 or 30 agents that will impact 300 families each. And now there's a compound effect. There's a scalability to that. And there's an honor in that. Like that's in alignment with his why on a bigger scale than he could do on his own. Therefore, his business is in alignment with his values and his beliefs and his why. And he's got this all built out, but he had to take the time to build himself into becoming who he needed to be that person, to be able to actually add value to those people's lives, to create that scalability, right? And that's where the whole concept of being willing and, you know, able to go slow to go fast is key. Now, a couple things, because we're going to come up on time here. But when we're talking to people, this is something I hear a lot, and I want to hear your response to this. And we touched on it like really briefly, but I want to dive deeper on it. Is the concept of asking questions to your upline and questioning the status quo of the way things happen. Because I mean, I haven't lived it. You've lived it, right? Like you've been in it. And so I want to hear your perspective and kind of the good, the bad, the ugly feedback. And like, maybe I'm being too intense about this and I don't know. And like, we haven't really talked about this in super depth personally. But I get a lot of people, like when I get on the phone with them and, you know, whether it's a random phone call and I happen to pick up a call that somebody gets my number, or, you know, respond to a comment. I get a lot of comments about this where people are saying, hey, you know, I went on a call with my upline. I made the list. I set up the appointment. My upline came with me and I just sat there and they told me not to ask questions. They told me not to talk. They told me not to inject. And then when I asked questions, they said, don't ask questions. Don't question it. We make more money. If you want to make money, just do it the way that we tell you to do it. Fall in line, basically. Don't question the status quo. And just, we have a system that works. Don't question it, just execute, right? And to me, it's the opposite of how I was brought in. Like I you know, looking back at it, I don't know what Bill Allen's doing these days. He's probably still selling IUL, so we probably have a difference of opinion at this point in time, right? But I will say he was amazing as a mentor, because as I came in, any question that I had, even if I was like, that doesn't make sense, or this or that or whatever, he would always take the time to make sure that I was the one in control of that relationship. He wasn't reaching out and setting the appointments, trying to take over. I was going in, I was positioning him as such, and he was always interfacing me in the dynamic to learn how to do it, right? Like the idea was like, he was like, I do, you watch, you know, it was my relationship. And then it was like, I'll do a little, you do a little, and we'll go back and forth. And eventually you'll do, I'll watch and be support. And eventually you'll spread your wings and fly, you know, like that's the process. But what I'm seeing is just like, there's an element of that component to it, but it's all just follow the script, get in line. We've got a system that works. Don't question it. Don't question whether it's accurate or not. Just do what we tell you to do. So like, talk to me about all that.
Yeah, it's actually a big part of their system. So, you know, whether depending on the team, they'll call it a training appointment. And so you and a mentor, they go visit your friends and family, and you are supposed to sit in the back, out of sight, out of mind, and be quiet. In fact, if you say one word, they will have a serious talk with you after the appointment. Say, if you do that again, we're not taking you out on appointments. And I understand, some of the logic behind it, because I've had agents say some ridiculous stuff, but I think that could be solved by, actually train some people here, train the agent. Like, hey, look, in the appointment, if you ask certain questions like, what is whole life? It might, through the whole, we might go in a whole different direction. So if you want to ask questions, because I want you to learn, and if you ask questions, I think it would help the client. As I'm going through, if the client asks questions, you can ask follow-up questions and stuff like that. No problem. I think that's really the intention of not only actually wanting to train the damn agent, which the whole purpose is, and I think you can also build trust with the client. Like, wow, he's taking time to answer the question. Maybe the client didn't even think about that question, but that's not how it goes. The agent has to be quiet. And the reason being is the agent, the trainer, they want to recruit the person, one, or two, they want to make a sale. And they don't really care if the agent learns anything, right? I can't speak in absolutes, because there are some good people probably in WFG and PHP that run it different. I was in a similar company, and I did, after every training appointment, I sat with my agents. Okay, what did you learn? Did you see when I did this? This is why I did that. I actually went through it, and I don't think everybody did that. But even outside of the appointment, they don't want you to ask all these questions about the IUL. How does it work? Product knowledge, because they'll say you don't need product knowledge. And they spend more time on the crusade and the concepts, right? We're on this crusade. We're going helping people. You'll learn that later. And, I've, just with Life 180, I've talked to a lot of people that are coming over from WFG. And one of the things that they said, a lot of them, they say, yeah, well, after watching Chris's video on IUL, I would go to my upline and ask him certain things about IUL, and they didn't even know the answer. And I keep on asking, and they start getting mad at me, and I don't understand why. If it was one person, that's one thing. But when I'm hearing it from like almost every person from WFG that's coming over, I'm like, this is a problem. This is a culture issue, right?
Totally, man. It's true. Well, so I know we're coming up on time, but there's something you're going to be excited to hear about. Yes, Thomas Cross just said you definitely need product knowledge. There's no doubt. I mean, you have to. Like, your responsibility is to know this stuff inside and out. And listen, I've been doing this for over a decade now. Matt's been doing it for over a decade, and it's one of those things where you're not going to know all the information right out of the gate. And Stephen Covey wrote an amazing book called The Speed of Trust, right? Like, so you need to be working as a new agent with somebody that you trust is going to actually be committed to educating you, not just teaching you how to sell off a slide deck script. You know what I mean? Because that's not really serving you. That's not really helping you understand how to build a business and understand, that are actually, building things inside out. And so, but then obviously, the title of this video is how to start your life insurance career successfully. And so, I think everything we've just talked about, even though it hasn't been like the most succinct presentation about like what the title of the video is, I think it all comes down to who you surround yourself with is either going to slow you down or speed you up. And that you are going to have to dedicate yourself to this. One of the things that I have done, because I just love this business and I think it's so important, and I think about like what do I do every day that I think has led to my success. By no means am I perfect in my my good days, like the things that I do well. But what I have done is if I think I have a skill, is I'm very self-reflective and very self-aware of stuff. And what I did is I put together the Life 180 planner. You've been utilizing it with our team. Talking about the points, talking about the systems, all that stuff. You're going to be happy to know, and everybody here doesn't know this, and Matt doesn't even know this yet, so he's about to know now, is I'm hitting enter, and the Life 180 planner is actually up and available to buy on Amazon right now.
Oh, nice. Very good. Finally.
So for the first time, like today is the day, guys. Like it just went up.
Awesome.
And so super excited. We had, with all the COVID stuff and all the supply chain issues that were happening, we were having a hard time getting it in from China. And so we just adapted and readjusted the sizing a little bit and made it a printable book on Amazon. and now it's just going to be, and it's all the same thing. So it's going to be pretty cool, but it's a completely transformative, I think, day-to-day planner that people can use. And it's not just about how to run your life insurance business. It's about how to build the life that you want to live. And as a life insurance agent, that's really truly looking to impact people. How do you go about every single day with specific intent, living life intentionally in all aspects of life, trying to add value into as many people as possible. So it is what it is. This is one of those things that any agent that is with Life 180 in our premier programs and all that stuff, you're going to get one of these every 90 days. I wrote this book and I put this planner together as a way to be a roadmap for you to follow every 90 days to execute in your business. Now, I put it on Amazon, and I fought with this because a big part of me wanted to just keep this for our agents. But then I was like, listen, that's not in alignment with my values and my belief. Like, I really want this to be something that will impact everybody. So if you're a Life 180 agent and you're watching this now or watching the replay, know that you can come to us, come to Matt. Matt, I ordered a bunch of copies. I've got a bunch of them coming to my house. Next time you're down here, I'm going to give them to you so you can distribute them to the agents. But even if you're not, like, they're available for $50 on Amazon. And so think about it, every quarter, so $200 a year, you basically have the playbook that you can execute day in, day out to run your business. And I promise you, if you just do what I say in this planner, Matt will tell you, you will 100x the return on your money.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like, easy. It is, like, I don't want to, like, pat myself on the shoulder too hard. I'll bruise myself. It'll be bad. But, like, I really think there's nothing in the industry like this planner.
Yeah. I think even if you're in a different IMO, different company, and you use a planner, it is going to give you an edge over every other person on your team and your company. And we were talking about last time, it's like guaranteed. If you actually went through it, it's guaranteed to give you results. There's no possible way that you do not get results if you actually follow it. Impossible.
If you follow it and execute. And if you commit to yourself day in, day out that you're going to go through the planner and do what it says and follow the guidance and answer all the questions and just plug into it and engage and execute accordingly. Like, when we talk about how to start your life insurance career successfully, get this planner, execute. Like, that's like, 100%. I guess that could be a short 60-second video. We took 60 minutes to tell you what I could have told you in 60 seconds. So congrats. No, that's, but anyway, yeah, man, is there anything we didn't cover?
We have a lot. I think if you're chiming in, you need to chime in next Wednesday, because I have so much notes where we just started from starting in the industry and then starting with a company. But now, I mean, next Wednesday, we could go into, like, the difference in compensation, how the training is set up, appointments, culture, systems. We can really dive into it and just open it up for sure next week.
Let's do it. All right. Well, I guess you'll set the agenda for next week. You tell me what you need me to do, and we'll go from there. But guys, so next week, same time, I would encourage, what I'm going to try to do is schedule this ahead of time, like way ahead of time, because I put it up as an event this morning. And I know that doesn't notify a lot of people, but we're going to start doing this. We're going to try to do this at Wednesday at noon Pacific as often as possible. I always hesitate because of my travel schedule and speaking schedule and all that stuff. I hesitate to commit to every week for anything, but I did pick Wednesday simply because that's my day that I travel the least. I usually, if I travel, it's like Wednesday night through Sunday, or Sunday through, or like Saturday through Tuesday or something like that. So Wednesday typically is a good day for me. So hopefully we'll get as many of these in as possible. But I would really, really encourage everybody to book off noon Pacific time on Wednesdays as often as possible, especially if you're in an IMO and you just want training, and you're somebody who just doesn't want to follow the herd, and you want to be able to question the status quo and really understand this stuff to a deeper level. That's what these Wednesday videos, live streams are about. So that's that.
Cool.
All right. Rock and roll. Well, thanks, man. Thanks everybody for being here, and have a blessed, inspirational day, guys. We will see you next week.